everyone, and welcome to this panel discussion dedicated to the topic why Canton of Zug decided to invest 40 million in blockchain research initiative. Here, all our fantastic panelists together. I think we can maybe take a seat and get started a little bit. My name is Olga, and I'm head of legal at Prosperity Digital, which is Bitcoin mining company. I'm also chair of Western chapter of CVA. And I'm thrilled to moderate in this panel discussion today. For those of you who don't know, on the 8th of May, Canton of Zug decided to invest about 40 million to the new blockchain joint research initiative, which is actually a joint initiative between two universities, the Universities of Lucerne and Lucerne University of Applied Science and Arts, actually the place where this conference is now happening. And the key aspect of this initiative is to change a little bit the approach to the research around blockchain area, and instead of having research dedicated purely to the technology, actually shift and investigate also how it affects all other aspects, social, economic, and political aspects. And for this reason, this research has been created, and the goal of this panel is to discuss actually what is the objectives, what are the expectations of this initiative, and how it's supposed to be implemented. And today we have a fantastic opportunity to have these questions answered firsthand. And so let me introduce you the panel. Our first panelist is Heinz Tandler, who is financial director of Canton of Zug. After we have also Andreas Führer, who is attorney at law and professor of law at the University of Lucerne. After we have Thomas Ankenbrandt, who is the head competence center investments at the University of Lucerne, University of Applied Science and Arts, and René Hüsler, who is also director of Department of Computer Science here at the Lucerne University of Applied Science and Arts. So please welcome our four fantastic panelists. And I'd like to start with the first questions to Heinz about the budget itself and the purpose. Like these 40 million, the first question I think we would have, would it be dedicated purely to academical structure, or there might be some funding to startups or blockchain-related companies, maybe as implementation partner, or somehow some funding can be dedicated to business?
Yes, thank you. First, my English is not so perfect as the English of the other people here in this room, but I try to explain in English what I can. I'm the political man, and I think René Hüsler and the other person can better explain this question. For the Canton of Zug, important for the Canton of Zug was the situation that the Crypto Valley, we have the Crypto Valley in the Canton of Zug since 10 years. I think 10 years about. And the city of Zug and the Canton of Zug supported the Crypto Valley and the blockchain technology from beginning. And I think this was the important point for us to be innovative also in this question. We will build up an institute, a blockchain institute, together with the University of Lucerne and the University of Rotkreuz. And we discussed also the advantages of such an institute, together with René Hüsler and together also with the University of Lucerne. And I think René Hüsler is more competent now to explain you why we pay 40 million Swiss francs to start and to build up this institute and the hub, and also the combination between the two universities. I think it's better, he can explain better that.
But initially, these funds are dedicated only purely for infrastructure, university infrastructure. There is no funding for business or something. No, that's clear, thank you. And I think the question that maybe we can continue with is indeed the reasoning behind, because Switzerland has been pioneering in DLT law and was always open to innovation and technology, both at federal and cantonal level. And it's not a big surprise that many universities and research institutions, they have been running already research in blockchain or effects of blockchain in maybe some social aspects, and I don't know, analyzing tax aspects of this. And the question is, where do you see the need for this in-depth research and maybe this holistic approach, for why you need this structure to make this research happening?
He told me that actually I should answer this question. As you mentioned, what you see a lot of activities on different universities where they're focused more on a topic. They really have a topic and they start from and then actually broaden their knowledge there in that field. And I think that's the special point of this activity, that we try to bring this together. Yeah. That we not only focus, as you mentioned, from a technical point of view, but also see the humanitarian, let's say the social aspects and all that stuff actually that will be combined in these research activities. And this will be, let's say, when we look at what's going on, let's say worldwide, this will be a unique opportunity to have this combination. And also coming back to your first question, actually how the industry startups and stuff like that are involved, then I can say that since we're the University of Applied Science, we really have this close contact to the industry, to startups, companies, stuff like that. That means that research activities we're doing this also together with such institutions and bring the knowledge also directly to the industry and the companies.
But they will be implemented, they will be somehow involved as implementation partners, or how they will be involved in, or it's just they will benefit from the fact being within the community?
I think that's the usage for them is actually threefold. Actually, one is that they're at the edge of the new research activities. They also can provide or participate in these activities, get the knowledge out of it, can make business out of that, and then also be part of the community and also disperse their knowledge throughout the whole community.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Perhaps if I can add something, I think it's really important what René has said, that it's not also to see it isolated, this funding from the Canton Zug. It's also in combination, for example, with the Inner-Swiss funding, and where we have the speaker before. So we have also, anyway, at the moment, a lot of projects, but with this funding, we can leverage further the implementation part for us, for applied science.
Yeah, Andreas.
If I may add to it, you know, I'm from the University of Lucerne, and I'm involved in this business since 2015, being a lawyer in Zurich. I think the interesting thing of blockchain from an academic point of view is that it was not developed within a university. It was not developed in the military context. It was developed by private persons. That's why there are so many losses, because usually if there's a new technology, the state or the military or whoever pays for the losses and the gains goes in the private sphere. Here it was really privately developed. And I was also involved 3 years for a project, a private project, a blockchain project. So I've seen all perspectives. And the problem developing in a private sphere is that you never have the time and the money to think deeply about what you're doing. You just do, and you have to do. And I think what we can now, providing our support for the practice, is that we get a bit of time And that's what we are academic paid for, to think about, to be in interaction, to talk with people, but also to take some time to think about, to make some thoughts about. We just had a very interesting conference a few weeks ago on the future of blockchain. We invited friends from US, from Canada, from China, from everywhere, and just sitting together for one day, having an interdisciplinary discussion on where are we going to, where are we coming from, what is the impact on society, what is the impact on technology, what is the impact on law. For me as a lawyer, very important. So this is, it's not a one-to-one gain for the community here, it's a 1-to-10 gain, if I want to say so, but there is some, we need to be in a discussion, and it will never be a kind of separated academic entity without any connection to the practice, but there is thinking about is completely different to just doing, and we are responsible for thinking about.
Yeah, thank you, Andreas. Actually, that's a very good moment you touched upon now. It's timing, and we know that actually any decent research normally takes at least 5 years, at least 3 years, and the industry, blockchain industry, is very dynamic, and everything that was like classic, we can say something that happened last year, and the case law is very developing fast enough. So how you can ensure, it's also my question to academia part, how you can ensure that you will be tackling really the right points, pain points of the industry?
I'm not sure in applied research or applied science it not takes 5 or 3 years. I think our usual projects are much shorter. I would say between 12 to 18 months, something like that. And how can we tackle that we really are close to the industry? Usually we don't make, and we plan this also to do it in the future, not to do projects without the industrial partner, without the startup, without a company. So we are really close to the industry. And I think this is also a huge advantage, what we are doing at the moment. In combination with the University of Lucerne, we have both sides. We have fundamental research in a broader sense, and we have really the applied side of the research.
But then you say you're very close to business. Is it the same structure, like, as you mentioned, in the Swiss, for example? So it will be always initiative will come from business?
So how we think to do it, it's not that we have exactly the same structure, because in InnoSwiss you have really a very strong implementation part.
Exactly.
And it's really 50% is coming from the industrial part. Perhaps with this funding we have also the possibility to shift a little bit or to do something more initial work on some topics, but not for 3 or 5 years, perhaps for another 6 months or something like that.
Okay, yes, Andreas, you have something?
Before I can add this, I think that's quite an important issue, that if you're working together with companies, then as Thomas just mentioned, that they really are interested in actually getting the project done, having it on the market, yes, actually doing some business stuff like that. And there we see a lot of that. There is a gap that we see there needs some more scientific work that has to be done to really know what's going on, how this can be, let's say, even further used in different aspects and stuff like that. And this is an activity also which will be primary, and also we have then with this financial background really have the opportunity to really do that. I think that will be also benefit for all, that we see that's not only focused on a certain implementation, where you see that we can really see what's the basic behind, what really is the key functionality or whatever that we can actually then use in different topics and stuff like that.
Okay, yes.
Yes, and just to add on that, you're right. If you apply for a Swiss National Fund, it will take you half a year to prepare. Then it takes half a year that they decide upon, and then you've got a 2 or 3 year project, which is altogether 4 to 5 years. And that only makes sense, first of all, that you draft a project which can develop. So you draft in another spirit than other projects. That's one solution. The other solution is that you take higher questions, the profound questions, which do not really change. I made once the mistake. I applied for the smart contract project in 2018. And I was so happy that I failed with it, because when I read my application 7 or 8 months later, I thought, no, that's a completely wrong question. It was too practical, too down to earth, my project. So if you do that research, you really have to lift it up to general questions where you really can think about, and then it does not really change. Let's say, for example, the impact on private law on blockchain, or the relationship. How can you escape the financial market focus of blockchain, which is completely stupid with modern blockchains? You are far out of it. These are questions you can discuss and think about quite a long time. And based on the funding we receive, we can then do the short-term research, like a seminar, like a workshop, like being in discussion, because there's a basic funding. We can do this short-term thinking, and out of this short-term thinking, out of our discussion, deliberation with you and with all, then these higher and more academic and more abstract questions raises up, and then we can think about, but that takes 4 to 5 years. That's completely true.
Yes,
and it's good, because you need some time for thinking.
Yes, to have some fundamental research indeed. And how this research will be implemented in general academic, let's say, parkour, how it will it be with PhD students, or what?
I think that we're using all the aspects that we're having in the universities. That means that actually with the research stuff, there's with PhD students, and all the different aspects, also with cooperations with other universities. We try actually to build an ecosystem that is focused around these activities, and then take all the different stakeholders that are necessary in there to bring the topic forward.
Yes, and to add on that, and I think that is from a political point of view, that the important thing is we are also educating young people. You know, the assistants, the academic staff working with us, being in discussion with us, we introduce, or they will then stay here, they will help you to further work on it. So it is, if you look at the history of Swiss university, the ATH in Zurich, for example, and the University of Zurich, but also my experience as a founding member of the University of Lucerne, it has a huge impact that the young students, the young people go out in practice, they fall in love here, they like the area here, and they stay here, and they further develop in practice. So it has a long-term impact. So I think these 40 million are well invested money.
Yeah. That's correct. Another question about the research approach itself. The initiative, again, says like the first key criteria is this interdisciplinary approach, and as you mentioned, how technology affects social, political, economic life. But in other aspects, it's also international scale, which is mentioned, and this is actually the ambition, to make this initiative international kind of hub, international place for blockchain research. And in this context, specifically considering these economic and social aspects, all these things like taxes or legal treatment for blockchain technology are very differently represented in global scale and in global perspective in different countries. Even within Europe, we don't have a unified approach to this. Not to say the US versus Middle East or Europe. Even within European country, we have very different treatment for tax, how to recognize digital assets for tax reasons, or some legal aspects. So within this unharmonized approach and unharmonized environment, how you want to tackle and how you want to consider this international aspect within the research?
I can start from this side. I think that's also quite an important issue, to see what's the difference between and why also. And then when I think of what actually from the human scientific side, what's the reason why it is so different in different aspects. And I think also this gives some inputs how this can be handled, or how new ideas can actually then go into, let's say, law or whatever regulations. I think this would be also quite interesting to see, because usually there is a certain mindset or a certain idea behind how things are defined. And when we even have a broader view and see what's the different stuff like that, this could be also quite interesting to see the reason
history,
behind,
yeah.
and from that also get some knowledge how you can actually do or improve these activities.
I think legal is important, but I think it's not the most important thing for blockchain. I think one of the most important things is the adoption of blockchain and the users. And I think there, Switzerland, in the DNA, we are always export-oriented. So I think if we try to develop solutions with our partners, which are usually are also international oriented, to export all over the world, I think this gives quite a clear answer to your question.
I think I believe in competition. And a legal competition is a good competition. For example, if you look at the UAE with the different areas of small law in Dubai, 38 free zones competing with each other with different legal situations, that has really developed Dubai in a very fast way. And we are in the same here. We are in a competition to Singapore, to the Emirates, to the US, to whoever. And in Africa, there is now a lot of movement there. So it's very, very interesting, or very important for us to be aware of it, to compare. If you look, for example, from the financial market perspective, what happened in 2013 to 2018, all the regulators, they've been sitting together. And they talked about, and the structure is more or less the same. It's more how to apply the similar rules is different in the Emirates, in the US, but the logic is pretty much, it's very close on how to apply them financial market law. In private law, it's different. We are very late from lawyer perspective. We are very late in thinking about what private law relationship, identity, contract, and liability, and all this stuff. So, but there we have to learn from other jurisdictions, and the other jurisdictions can learn from us. So this dialogue, this global dialogue, I think it's very important, just to be number one in the competition when we are losing at the moment.
And do you see these initiatives can somehow motivate other countries also to this global approach, and maybe working together with in international scale, and maybe create also similar initiatives?
Yes. No, but to be honest, we have different cooperation actually today with different universities all over the world, with Singapore, or also with the Silicon Valley, to mention perhaps the two most prominent. And I think especially with Singapore, it's very interesting because they have a completely different approach to see the world. It's more top-down. In Switzerland, we have more bottom-up. And I think these combinations are very fruitful for both sides.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I think we are almost a bit behind. If you look at the US, what's in research in the US, if you look at Singapore, there's a lot of basic research in these countries, and so we can catch up now, which is, so we are not really the first mover in academic research. Perhaps in Europe, there's not that much in Europe on this academic level. So I think it's important, yes.
Yeah, I mean, in some countries, crypto, it's still a little bit gray zone, not to say fundamental research around this topic. So this is, I mean, a big step compared to other countries.
But we try to have a bigger view on it. It's not just crypto; it's blockchain. Yeah. Blockchain is a technology, and this technology allows a lot of different things, which has nothing directly to do with crypto, like identity, like AI, for example, the important role of blockchain in AI, and so on. There are huge questions in energy, for example. There are huge markets where we can provide profound research to develop.
I think that's also one of the issues that was in this proposal for this joint research initiative. defined different topics that you just mentioned, energy, health, then basic process and stuff like that, that we said, okay, there we see a big potential for this blockchain technology that can be applied in that field, and they also do. And what you just mentioned before, actually, that's how you actually spread out. That actually, apart from the, let's say, the support of the different universities, also there was the idea of a hub that really has the basic functionality to spread the knowledge to the world on one side and bring the others in. I think that's also quite an important issue, that's special, that these special activities also were defined to really not do it just internally here and between our universities, that we really have the aim to really spread this word to the world and also get the knowledge from outside in.
So
I think that's also quite important.
Yeah, thank you. And this hub will be within the same structure of this joint initiative? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's part of this initiative. Actually, there are 3 parts in it. It's actually the University of Applied Science, and this hub. Okay. These are the 3 basic issues that actually play together. And this also used that on one side that we can combine our activities, define projects and stuff like that. We just had, you mentioned it before, about 2 months ago, we had a first conference that somehow raised out of this idea. And that's the reason behind to bring these activities also together.
Yeah, thank you. And also, Andreas, you mentioned that far-reaching effects of this initiative, and it cannot be probably linear results, it's rather exponential results. It can touch many aspects, and it can be really ongoing results of this joint initiative, both, I believe, for academia environment, but also for business community. And in this context, I have a question probably to all of you. The announcement says that the effectiveness of this initiative will be evaluated in 3 years. In this context, it sounds a little bit too soon to somehow assess the results of this initiative. What would be the criteria? How you're going to assess? Is it a good initiative to continue supporting, or it's not efficient enough?
I think this was one Hans just mentioned. Actually, this is one of the crucial points also in this proposal, because he said or the canton won't just spend the money and then at the end it's just finished. And so they said actually that after 3 years, we really have an evaluation where we can see whether there are already some fruits or some seeds that actually are grown already. And from that, then it will be decided how this will proceed. But actually, this is quite an important issue. And the discussion was actually when will be the right time for the information. Okay, and also actually that's also quite important also for the parliament, because they said we don't want to spend this amount of money and see nothing till the end. They really also want to have a feedback into the parliament how this evaluation or how this development evolves in that field. And I think this is quite important. And we had discussion from the pure, let's say, from the basic scientific or research activities, then it's too short, that's clear. To really already have, let's say, the big results. But to see, since this is a combination of different activities, and Andreas just mentioned that also in this long track, we'll have some short track results and stuff like that. And therefore it makes sense to really have, after 3 years, the first evaluation to see whether this is fruitful or not, or this should be cancelled if it's nothing, or how this can proceed afterwards.
But from cantonal perspective, would it be the criteria, the new business in the canton, or what would be the focus? What would be, like, from cantonal perspective, what would be the primary criteria? New business, new blockchain companies here, coming here, foreign business coming here. What's the main aspect, the main criteria?
I think one of the major issues, actually, the crypto valley is located here. It's connected with Zug, and this should be strengthened even in the future. That actually, when you think for blockchain, Switzerland, then it should be Zug and this initiative. That's the first idea that comes in mind when you think about it.
Perhaps just from academic or from a scientific university perspective, even though you have 4 to 5 years to go through a whole project. If you have a general funding, a state funding, you work on a project, then you hand it over to those who really then work on the project, but because you have got a basic finance, you can start with the next project. So we had a lot of these discussions at the university. So with such a fundamental funding, we can build a kind of third-party finance project, which can be the Swiss National Fund, which can be the European Union, which can be private parties. So, but you need to have a kind of fundamental funding, and then you set up a whole project, one after the other, and that is one of the ideas. And after 3 years, we will have a very critical look at whether this, what you mentioned, but also the kind of setting up research, third-party finance research projects within that institute, and that will be part of
But
the
at the end,
assessment.
this is only a political decision. This is a decision of a parliament, not more. And if we don't make mistakes now, when we build up now this project, and then nothing happened after 3 years, I'm sure. But you know, a parliament has other ideas than specialists and universities. And for the parliament, it was very, very important, very important to have after 3 years a paper in the hand to see, yes, it's okay, and then we continue the project. This is only a decision of the parliament. At the end, for nothing.
Okay, I think this is a good closing remark of our panel discussion. Anyway, I think the idea is to keep this image of Zug as the primary place for blockchain business, and also within international scale, also keep the same role as primary place for blockchain research. Okay, that was good 30 minutes. I'm sorry we don't have any time for Q&A session. If you have any questions, you can probably try to reach our panelists during networking part. But at this moment, I want to thank all panelists for joining us, and thank all of you for coming for this panel discussion. Thank you.